Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for Equidox AI, a fully automated PDF remediation solution. We're very excited about this cutting edge technology that is solving for challenges within the healthcare and healthcare insurance provider industries. By way of introduction, my name is Paul Campbell, and I will be joined by Tim Needles and Dan Toletta for the next 30 minutes. Just some quick logistics. The live audio Q&A is not available for this webinar. However, you can drop your questions in the Q&A chat button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get back to you shortly after the webinar with some answers. Additionally, the webinar will be recorded and will be sent to everyone after the meeting, in addition to the deck that we'll be presenting, and a short survey that we'd be would appreciate if you take a minute to answer for us. We're also very happy to do a more direct interactive session with you and other team members if they weren't able to join, and obviously further conversation as to how Equidox AI may be a fit for your organization specifically. Overview of the agenda for today that we have lined up for the next 29 minutes now. Who is Equidox Software Company? Our President and CEO, Tim Needles, is going to talk a little bit about who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. I'll be discussing some of the challenges that we've seen in the healthcare market specifically and our solution to the problems that we've seen. And then Dan Toletta, our Senior Solutions Engineer, will be talking about why do we make PDFs accessible? What's really driving this in the market? And followed by an overview of Equidox AI and how it works. And then lastly, for the last half of the meeting, Equidox AI demonstration that I know we're very excited to show today. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Tim Needles, our President and CEO, to give an introduction to Equidox. Tim?
Thank you, Paul, for the introduction. Much appreciated. And thank you all for joining us today. We're exceedingly excited to be with you here today to showcase our AI solution. We know that many of you have been feeling the pain of PDF remediation maybe for a long time in terms of cost, compliance, and risk mitigation. So you'll be pleased to know that there is a better solution for customers with lots of documents like yourselves. And after the demo, I think you will agree that Equidox AI is a superior solution. So some of you may think that we're the new kids on the block, but Equidox has actually been in existence for nearly a decade. Way back when a Canadian citizen was trying to apply for a government job posted on the internet, but she was unable to apply for the job because of her visual disability. So she sued the government of Canada and she won her case. And so the government sought out a solution, but they couldn't find one because there really wasn't one. So they asked the marketplace to respond, and hence we started building a solution. And we haven't really stopped innovating ever since. So we created a robust SaaS solution, and now hundreds of customers are currently using our legacy product. The solution is world-class and is adding tremendous value to the marketplace of digital accessibility for enterprises, government agencies, educational institutions, and the like. Our customers love our product, and that's evidenced by the fact that nearly 100% of our customers renew their subscription every year. So, that's all well and good, but we've heard from customers for a while, long time, that organizations were really having difficulty. The organizations with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or even millions of pages that needed to be remediated, and there wasn't an automated solution for that need. So a few years ago, through our team and a serious development effort, we started building an AI solution. So the traditional service providers were sending their documents to India and other countries, and we were one of those service providers. But there was no real efficient way to scale. And so companies were forced to settle for a solution that's time-consuming, as we all know, really expensive, and doesn't really truly mitigate the risk of litigation in a lawsuit. So our demo will prove today that there is a better way to remediate large amounts of pages and documents, saving you time money, and all the hassles of old school remediation. It's great to accomplish these benefits, but we are really most pleased to provide a game-changing solution that assists the visually impaired. We're super passionate about helping these people, and it's invigorating to work with organizations like yours that share our commitment and passion. So thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. We look forward to serving you. And back to you, Paul. Thanks again.
Thank you, Tim. So as Tim mentioned, Equidox AI is a fully automated PDF remediation solution that removes the traditional manual remediation methods and auto tagging methods while still increasing the quality and accuracy and compliance for organizations. What we've really found most recently is that the healthcare industry can get the most value out of Equidox AI, and hence why we had this webinar for this market. And this is really because, Section 508 compliance mandates, number one. And number two, healthcare organizations seem to have, large quantities of templated and reoccurring documents that consistently need to be accessible because of these compliance requirements. And number three, there's just current challenges that we've seen with the current processes that organizations have to make PDFs accessible, and just the overall quality, speed, and vendor sprawl within these organizations to accommodate PDF remediation. The main use cases may include, but are not limited to necessarily, and some of ones that you are all probably familiar with: physician directories, explanation of benefits, digital ID cards, invoices, statements. These are all great candidates for Equidox AI because of the high volume, repetitive, templated nature of those use cases and how quickly they need to be provided to your customers. And with that, we've really seen three main challenges that organizations are experiencing to accommodate, the compliance mandates and the accessibility of these large volumes of documents. Number one challenge, we've seen is the costs. There's multiple vendors within organizations, there's outsourced providers, and there's investment internally for internal personnel as well. That's very costly, and it can really be a runaway train of cost because of some of the industry standard price per page components, and it can really get exponential, and the manual work to provide this level of remediation at the capacity and scale is very expensive. Number two is the quality. Because of the cumbersome manual processes, auto tagging, mishaps and issues multiplied by volumes of pages and scope and complexity, it leaves healthcare organizations exposed to non-compliance and unfortunately sometimes lawsuits, because of these, critical elements. Lastly is the speed. There's very demanding legal requirements, Section 508, and quick turnaround times with that to get accessible information to, our customers consistently is not really a realistic. It's not really realistic to accommodate, with the traditional manual processes and auto tagging methods because of these volumes that have to be managed again. Well, as Tim had mentioned and alluded to, we wanted to create a better way. And thanks to Tim and executive leadership, we've done that. And Equidox AI solves for these main challenges that we just discussed. Our experts have really found a way to truly automate the PDF accessibility process of many of the healthcare use cases involving high volumes. Equidox AI automates, or the Equidox AI automation allows for good quality, usability, and compliance every single time because of our unique model creation and machine learning and artificial intelligence model creation. We don't auto tag or cut corners or rely on the human element to get the process done. Also, Equidox AI automation accommodates aggressive timelines because of we're relying on the technology, and we can really dictate how fast the solution runs and ultimately, turn the dial up or down, so to speak, to accommodate any timelines that customers have. And lastly, Equidox AI automation allows for lower costs, process improvements, and also, vendor consolidation. So with those costs, the process improvements, that we're able to, consolidate and streamline, and the vendor consolidation kind of goes in hand with those costs from what we've seen. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Dan to talk about, why is it important to make PDFs accessible, and also, how Equidox AI works, and then ultimately a demonstration of this new bleeding edge technology, Equidox AI. Dan?
Great. Thanks, Paul, and thanks, Tim, for kicking it off this afternoon. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the why we're doing all of this. So I assume that many people on this call have some at least high-level familiarity with the various accessibility laws like ADA, Section 508, and the Affordable Care Act. So I don't want to bore everyone with a bunch of legalese because I'm not a lawyer. But at a high level, just as there are requirements to provide physical access like wheelchair ramps or elevators or braille signage in your buildings, organizations also need to ensure that their public-facing digital content, including your PDF documents, are accessible to everyone, including people with disabilities, of course. So ignoring the accessibility of your digital content opens your organization up to legal risks. There have been thousands of organizations who have learned the hard way when they were sued for exactly this type of problem. And there are thousands more who were forced to pay large settlements and fines, and yet they still have to go back and fix their accessibility deficiencies. So long story short, we live in a very digital world and we rely so heavily on digital information. So digital accessibility is not a fad and it's not going away. So it's always good to be aware of it and to address it in a proactive way. Just so everyone's aware, these are links to Section 508 and WCAG guidelines. We will be sharing the deck with everyone who's on the webinar today. So if you're interested in reading a little bit more about these specific standards and guidelines, there will be links provided. Okay, so let's go to the next slide here. So basically, what I wanted to talk about a little bit here is for anyone that's unsure of why this digital accessibility stuff matters, people with disabilities use various types of what's called assistive technologies to interact with digital content like a PDF document. A very common type of assistive technology is called a screen reader, which is capable of reading digital content like websites or applications and, of course, PDF documents. Screen readers use what are called digital tags to navigate documents. And these tags need to be properly encoded into the document to organize the content and make it compatible with a screen reader. So think of the tags as like a framework of the document, which gives the screen reader and the user the ability to navigate and interact with all of the various elements in the PDF. So Equidox, in cooperation with the National Federation of the Blind, we surveyed about 250 blind and low vision individuals who rely every day on their screen reader to interact with PDFs. And based on this survey, we found that at least 2/3 of PDF documents are inaccessible to people with disabilities. So if you just put yourself in the shoes of a blind person, you can quickly imagine how frustrated you would be if you could not read 2/3 of the documents that you came in contact with on a daily basis. On top of that, imagine the potential privacy issues if you were to go and ask your neighbor if they could read you your medical test results or if they could read your credit card charges on a bank statement or something like that. It would be a very intrusive and kind of embarrassing thing to have to do. So that's what people that are blind face every single day, and that's really what we're trying to solve for. So let's talk a little bit about the human element of AI. So one of the main challenges around PDF accessibility is that each PDF document is unique. We have heard a lot of empty promises of fully automating PDF accessibility, but the devil is really in the details. There are so many things about PDFs that require human interpretation to decide how to tag specific elements within the content. I've been working in the PDF accessibility space for about 7 years, and I've seen a lot of organizations that come to us and they assume that they have accessible documents because their documents have some tags. But they quickly learn that those tags are not usable and they're certainly not compliant, and they're still open to litigation, of course. So just be aware of auto tagging technology masking itself as a solution to fully automated PDF accessibility. Auto taggers, we'll call them, are capable of putting tags on a page, but these will always be applied in a sloppy and heavy-handed way. And the inaccuracy of those tags leads to a lot of confusion and frustration for a screen reader user, and they're definitely not compliant. So, in addition to the accuracy and usability issues, auto taggers will leave you open to further litigation because there's no guarantee of any compliance with WCAG standards. Even paying to outsource your huge batches of documents to auto taggers, you're still not mitigating your risk of litigation because the auto tagging falls well short of true compliance with the accessibility standards. So incorporating artificial intelligence, and more specifically computer vision and machine learning into high volume PDF remediation allows our accessibility experts to train an AI model to accurately identify and tag all of the elements in the document template. The use of AI developed by our data scientists paired with the human element of our trained accessibility experts allows for incredibly accurate, usable, and compliant PDFs to be returned to their customers in a fraction of the time because AI works exponentially faster than humans manually tagging each element on a page. AI, of course, doesn't take vacations. It can work 24/7, 365 without any breaks, and it doesn't need to cut corners to meet a deadline. So the AI just has a huge advantage when you're dealing with high volumes of documents. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about training these AI models and how this works. Our accessibility experts use example documents of customer templates to properly identify the various elements on the page. These elements might include things like text and paragraph structure, various levels of headings that are used for navigation purposes, lists and tables, graphs and images, even the reading order of the content, which is crucial if you're dealing with documents that don't have just a standard top to bottom reading order. This training data that our experts feed to the AI models is what the AI uses to learn and apply the appropriate tags in mass to many thousands or tens of thousands or millions of pages that have similar templates and formatting. Although the mechanics of how AI technology works is rather abstract, so it's hard to kind of visualize what's going on behind the curtain. In the next couple of slides, I'm just going to show you a few examples of how we can visualize the AI at work. So in this scatter plot that we see on the right side of the slide here, we'll see these green dots. And these green dots, each one of them represents a page in a PDF. And they are grouped together based on similarities that the computer vision finds. So in this cluster, we see a dot representing all of the pages in these documents that contain pie charts. In this example, you'll see that there are different multi-column text layouts that the AI will also use to recognize different pages and group them together appropriately. So sometimes there's a single column, sometimes it's 2, 3, or 4. Sometimes there's a mixture of multiple options. The AI is able to use that information to group together the pages. The AI can also pick up on font styles like the size and the color to help it establish the appropriate tags on the page. So we can even train AI to identify the many potential variations in tables, such as the number of columns and rows, which can always be dynamic, the table headers versus the table data, and even tables of different sizes that might span across multiple pages. All of that can be accounted for in the AI model training. The result of all of this extensive document analysis and training and feeding that training data to the AI model to digest and learn from is creating fully compliant PDF documents without any human remediators involved. Those human remediators, keep in mind, are very expensive to employ or outsource to. They are, of course, liable to make a lot of errors, or they might be forced to just cut corners because they have to meet an unattainable deadline due to the massive demands in the volume. So we're able to reach full compliance because this is not auto taggers just throwing sloppy tags on a page and saying, quote unquote, good enough. Beyond the compliance, we're just also passing automated checkers as well as manual reviews using screen readers. So the bonus of the AI for high volume and hyper fast remediation is that it's going to produce incredibly accurate and very much usable documents for people with disabilities. So your customers who rely on assistive technology, they're not going to be filing complaints or lawsuits or calling your headquarters to complain that they have documents that they cannot navigate or understand because they simply haven't been tagged properly. Now we're just about ready to jump into the demo, so I promise the slide deck is going to end soon. But just before we do that, I just want to make it clear that the underlying technology that's operating this AI, this can be deployed in several ways to align with your organization's requirements. So we've built an interface, which you will see during the demo, that could allow your employees to run the process from start to finish with just a couple of clicks by uploading the document or documents, running the batch, and then downloading the finished PDFs. We can also embed the AI models into an existing document creation and delivery system through the use of APIs. So this might be more critical for customers needing to download private documents like a monthly statement or an explanation of benefits or medical test results, et cetera. Lastly, Equidox can operate this process on your behalf as a managed service. So we can take care of the remediation as well as the validation of those documents to ensure that everything exceeds all accessibility requirements and deliver fully compliant PDFs back to your organization to be posted and distributed. Just one more thing to note about Equidox AI is that we're applying these tags at the post-processing stage, which you'll see that during the demonstration. So these PDFs are already created, and we are applying the accessibility as a final step before they are publicly distributed. The advantage of tagging PDFs post-processing is that we're not having to come into your organization and disrupt or, in many cases, rebuild a document creation process. So your designers and producers of mass documentation, they can continue their process as they currently do it. And we will handle the accessibility component at the very end, right before the document reaches your customers in the public forum. So with that said, I'm going to get out of the slide deck and we're going to jump into the demonstration. So I'm going to just switch tabs here on my browser. And this is Equidox AI. So just keep in mind that this is an interface that we have built to demonstrate and visualize how this technology works, but it can be deployed in other ways, as I just previously mentioned. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to upload a document to run through this process. So if I just open up the folders here on my hard drive, I'm going to grab this document right here and just do a simple drag and drop of it. So once it renders in this little rectangle here, the upload button appears. So when I press the upload button, this is going to start the process where Equidox is going to bring it up into the cloud and get it ready for this batch process. The next step is I'm going to go to the Create Run Batch tab on the left-hand side, and I will select the appropriate machine learning model that I would like to apply to this document I just uploaded. So when I hit the drop-down menu, I will select the example provider directory, and we'll take a look at what this document looks like in just a second. Once I select the model I want to apply, I then select this document right here, which is the one I just uploaded, and I hit Run Batch. Now, once I press Run Batch, the view of this screen changes, and I can see some basic information and properties of the document. And down below, we'll see the actual process kind of at work. So it's not much to look at. We just have these green dots that kind of light up as it goes through the different phases of the process. So right now, Equidox is applying the machine learning zones. It's analyzing each page for the various differences and slight changes throughout, and it's going to recognize all of those different elements and appropriately tag it based on the model training that we have fed the AI based on this type of template for this particular customer. So while that's running, I'm going to open up this document and we'll just take a quick look at the content. So this is actually a 100-page excerpt of a much longer, like I think it's 1,200-page physician's directory. We have seen examples of similar directories that exceed like 10,000 pages because it lists literally every doctor, hospital, physical therapist, dentist, you name it within that provider network. And these lists always need to be maintained and updated because providers come and go from a network, or they change locations and their contact information needs to be updated. So many networks are updating their provider directories on a monthly or quarterly or at least an annual basis. So the volume of these pages and the recurring nature of these documents being updated monthly or quarterly is really overwhelming for a team of human remediators. And it's also very expensive to outsource to third parties who are typically charging, upwards of $5 per page. The level of complexity of this type of document makes it impossible for auto taggers to accurately define all of the different content groups, the complicated heading structure. There's complicated reading orders. Of course, we have multiple column layouts. We have cross-page merges where you have information that breaks from one page to the next. And also, really importantly, is applying alt text to these small images here, which are indicating things like the doctor's office is located nearby public transportation, it's wheelchair accessible, or if the doctor is board certified. On top of the length of these documents, many of these providers are having to create these documents in multiple languages. So if all of the accessibility work that we would do to this English version of the document would then have to be repeated for Spanish or French or Mandarin Chinese or Arabic or whatever language that provider needs to or that network needs to provide their information in. So it's an overwhelming volume of pages, and the complexity to deal with this using traditional methods is just not sustainable. So you can see that this is just a small excerpt of about 100 pages of one of these documents, but all of these pages are somewhat unique. They're similar, but all different, and they all need to be accounted for appropriately so that someone could find the doctor that they're looking for and get in touch with them. Now, if we just go back to the Equidox AI interface here, everything is finished running while we were talking there. And I have a link now to download this completed file. If I go and download this file, and I'll open it up in my Adobe Acrobat desktop view, we will see that this document, if Acrobat will wake up, that's part of the problem here. Rendering larger documents can sometimes be tedious just to get them to cooperate. But when I click on the document tag, you'll see that all of this information has been tagged. Now, if you don't really know much about the tag structure, these purple rectangles that we see around all of the content, this is just an indication that all of this content is accounted for. These first handful of pages of the document are rather straightforward from a tagging standpoint, but when you get into the actual directories down here, we have these complicated reading orders with the 3 columns. We have complicated heading structure. We have images that require alt text, and you can see if you hover your mouse, all of those alt texts have been applied. So all of the content in this document has been accurately tagged in about a second per page, and we can apply more resources to go exponentially faster. It's just a matter of the demand and the volume and the throughput that's required. But the main point is that every single element in this document has now been accurately tagged because of the use of AI. We have other use cases that we can demonstrate as well. So if I were to go back to the upload document screen, I can also take like a zip folder. In this case, it will have a bunch of insurance ID cards. So it's the same process of uploading this document. We then would go to the Create and Run Batch tab. I would just select a different model and choose the ID card model this time. I would select the zip folder that I just uploaded and simply hit Run Batch. Now, this is the similar concept of automatically tagging all of that content through the AI, but this time it's applying that model to many different documents that are smaller in terms of their page count. So this is a slightly different process where if you're providing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of statements to your customers on a weekly or monthly basis, they would be able to receive those documents in a fully automated way without any of your staff having to tag them. So these documents are already finishing up. And the same thing, if I were to open one of them up and look at the document in the Adobe desktop view, you'll see that, again, all of this content has been automatically tagged, whereas the original was completely void of tags, rendering this whole document completely unusable. So with that said, I'm going to jump back to the slide deck here just to wrap things up. We do have some relevant articles. So if anyone wants to share this slide deck with other people in your organization, there's a lot to learn about PDF accessibility, and we kind of organize and provide that to you in these different articles. So feel free to browse through them at your leisure. And also, just in conclusion, I just want to thank everyone for joining us here today. We hope that you all see the value and the capabilities of this technology. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us for more of a one-on-one consultation so that we can discuss your organization's unique use case and how Equidox AI can be applied to it. And also, we will be sending a recording of this webinar, as we mentioned before. So feel free to share this with anyone in your organization who would benefit from learning more about Equidox AI. And we'll include a link to the slide deck. And for anyone that asked a question during the Q&A feature through the Q&A feature. We will get back to you as soon as we can. And lastly, there will be a short survey that goes around. So if you don't mind just taking a quick minute to fill out that survey, we would greatly appreciate it. So thanks again, everyone, for joining, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
For more information about how Equidox Software Company can help you with PDF accessibility, email us at equidoxsales@equidox.co or give us a call at 216-529-3030 or visit our website at www.equidox.co.